In today's episode on how to improve your Marvel future fighting, we're going to be focusing on ABX and ABL. I did a series on the way that I do ABX and ABL and some of the teams that I've used and some of the decisions that I make. But in this one, I want to talk about how to just improve things in general. And one of the ways to do that is to track your progress over time and to see what's working for you and for your account. The way that I do that is I actually have an Excel sheet I put together, and I actually track my overall progress over time. So the way this tracker works is I have a tab for the current ABX scores, I have a tab for the current ABL scores, and then I have the last group of both ABX and ABL. And what this has is it has both seasons. So I have Paralysis week 1 and 2, Burn week 1 and 2, and then Silence week 1 and 2. And then what I do in the ABL, obviously I'll have those days, which is Fracture, Snare, and Shock. And again, it's 2 weeks worth. So I'll just track these and move these as I go. And I have some auto calculation sheets that pull over into my totals so I can see what I did. And then I kind of just move them over so I can track that progress. I have all the rotations I use for my characters and what CTPs I have on them, which auto pulls into my sheets, what uniform is needed. And then I have my CTP counts for my account, like which CTPs I'm using and which ones I have in inventory and my totals. And then I have like which strikers are best in my opinion for using for certain days and whatnot. So let me kind of go over this. I'll show you what I'm doing, and maybe this will inspire you to do something yourself and help with your overall scores. So let's start with the ABX scores. So what I do is I start at the very beginning. I'm starting with Paralysis. Doesn't really matter where you start, but I have like a 1P, and this is for week 1 of Paralysis, and then week 2. And you'll notice here I have day 1 to 8. All of this is used in my auto calculations, which is why I have it in this order. Then what I'll do here is I'll have the type of day it is. So this is Blast Villain. This is who I use as my leader, my dealer, and then my support fill. So in some case it's a slash scenario, in other case it's not. This dealer actually pulls over into my rotations column over here. There's a calculation here that is going to do this indexing from the rotations based upon the name and matching it up. So if you know Excel formulas, you know how that works. If not, feel free to copy that. But basically what it's going to do is if I use the exact name here, Magneto Rage, it's going to go into this rotations tab. It's going to find Magneto Rage on the left here, and it's going to pull over the rotation that I have written down for him. This is how I play these characters, and as you've seen in my series, there are different ways to play these characters and different rotations that you can use. So I like to do that because if I switch up the character, like let's say if I change this to something like Thanos, Rage, something like this, you'll see on the far right here, the, actually gets cut off, doesn't it? The rotation here will change. So I'll put this back to Magneto now. So I'll change this and I'll just do Magneto Rage, and it auto-fills it in because it's in another column. I press enter, and on the far right there, it changes the rotation for me. Over here, I'll fill this out only as I change things and as things evolve. So sometimes towards the bottom of my sheet, I still need to do upgrades. I will put the day in, and then I kind of just drag down the corner to fill the days. And I drag that down to 8, and then I copy 8 over to 1. Since remember, on day 8, you do day 1 at the same time as 8. So there is a crossover, which is why Paralysis is listed at the bottom here as well. So once I get all, and I fill out all the dates, and like I said, I copy it over. So I can see over here, these are all the way back from 10/5, and then over here, this is, oh, actually, did I not update this? Is this the old dates? Oh, that's ABL scores. Haha, last ABX scores here. This is all the way back from 7/13. There you go, that's more like it. So I will actually copy this whole sheet and paste it over this and overwrite the values. And then I will change my dates here and then clear out all of the I and J column values. So normal score is just your normal AB. I put those in because it affects your total. So I will fill that out after I complete that. It's always 166,750 or 210,500 depending on what day it is. So whatever I score, I put that in. Then my actual ABX score, whatever is my highest score for the day, I'll put that in as well. And then all of these will get totaled and added up together. ABL is kind of the same scenario as the ABX stuff set up. I've got the lead dealer support, same order, the type. I've got the type of beast. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. The type of beast. So this is a Paralysis beast. This is a Shock beast. And then it's week 1 Paralysis. I'm leaving 1P here because that's the main AB1, and that's how it matches them up for my totaling. So this is still 1 paralysis, 2 paralysis, 1 burn, 2 burn, and then 1 silence, 2 silence, even though it's a different beast for the ABL. This way I can total them together. The days work the exact same, and then you just have 1 score for ABL instead of 2. The rotations pull in the same way over here, based upon who the dealer is. So these auto fill out for you, so you don't have to constantly fill those out if you change your team up. Over on the far right, there is a cancel column, which gets cut off because of just how much I can fit on the screen at one time. I think I might be able to actually drag the whole thing over. If I click it like this, yeah, I can drag it over like that. So I got a cancel column too, but since I'm looking at this side of the spreadsheet, I'll just leave it over here. And I don't want to make it smaller because it makes it harder to read. But my cancels I manually update, and sometimes those fall off, so those aren't all super accurate all the time. But for the most part, that tells you what cancels now. And I try to use characters that do cancel. I try not to use striker cancels if I can avoid it. So that's what's going on with these 4 tabs. The totals here, like I said, so what happens is it looks at paralysis and shock, so those are the 2 beasts with 1P, and it has a formula here where it's basically looking at the ABX sheet, and it's totaling the I column and the J columns basically together to get the total score for what I did for ABX, and then it's taking that and it's adding that over. See, we're doing this sum if, and then we're doing the plus sum if, and then plus sum if. So we're adding the 3 columns together for the ABX scores, for that normal, for the actual ABX score, and then the ABL, because remember the normal scores are sitting on that, and it just pulls it over what my total is. So there's week 1, week 2, and then week 1 and week 2. So there's like 3 weeks, right? So week 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then you do it again with fracture for the 4, and then you do it again with snare. So as you can see here, for me, the last time we had paralysis, I was doing 150,789,960, and now I'm up to 186 million. And then if we move over a little bit, you'll see my overall progress over time. So I went from 124 million to 135 million to 150 to 186. And there's a lot of reasons I'm improving my score, whether it be rotations, new characters, new strikers, new builds. A lot of factors are going to play into this. Rotation-wise, these are not necessarily the best rotations, and I have some characters on here I no longer use. Like, I no longer use Black Widow. I still have a rage on her because I use her as a striker sometimes. I no longer use Captain America. But I've just left them on here just in case I ever wanted to use them again. And then I have listed the uniform this rotation works for. Now, in some cases, I have stuff here, like here's Doctor Strange Mom, which is Multiverse of Madness. So this is the multiverse, Marvel Studios Doctor Strange 2. So if I wanted to pull this rotation in, I could by putting Mom on the end. But this is the Doctor Strange Death of Doctor Strange. And I have a couple others that are double. I think Jean's here twice with her Marvel Girl uni as well. But these are mostly what I have here is either the meta or the previous meta of characters that I use for rotations. And then the last 2 here, I guess ABX, ABL will be important for this. So for ABX, you're pretty much, if you have to use Ghost Rider, use Black Widow as a striker if you have her built. If not, you could use Thor. But Black Widow, Thor, and Ghost Rider are the 3 best strikers in the game for using ABX and ABL to boost your scores. Black Bolt, you always want to give Black Bolt cable, regardless. A lot of people say you wanted to use the summer uniform or the kid cable, not the new Heart of Darkness one. I just leave the Heart of Darkness one on. I don't see a huge difference, and I think I only use Black Bolt for one day anyway. But just keep in mind that a lot of people recommend, so for both ABL and ABX, just leave cable on. There's apparently something going on with cable and the summer uniform or the kid cable uniform that just makes Black Bolt sing with his Fallen Souls uniform. That's that newest one. That's the seasonal one. Ghost Rider here can't use himself, so Black Widow was the ABX Striker Supreme, and Thor was the ABL Striker Supreme. So for Ghost Rider, just use the old best. If not, everyone else gets Ghost Rider. Obviously, you want to have a built Ghost Rider, a tier 4. If not, like I said, Black Widow ABX, Thor for ABL. And then there's a special little niche thing here with Deadpool. Deadpool can use paralysis. Like, so for today's team up, I was just running earlier. So let me get down to today. So here's today. I just did, I'm sorry, that's for Moon Knight. So for ABL today, going down here, I use Satana Leadership, Jean Grey with Rage, and Morgan Le Fay. None of them can do Fracture for their striking, so they can't cancel. So I have to cancel with someone. So what I actually do is I use I use Deadpool with the pink uniform, and he'll actually cancel. You could use Gambit. He also has a cancel ability, but it seems like Deadpool does the best. So when I don't have the ability to cancel, now I could use Angela instead. So there are options, but that's why I put that little note there. And then, like I said, the other thing I like to do here, and this kind of plays into a factor, it's not just flexing. Yeah, that's that's how much I've spent on this game so far. Yeah, so I definitely have spent some money. But this is like the count of every CTP I have. So these are all my normals, my mighties, my brilliants, and then the grand total of all of my rages. So I have 76 total CTPs on my account. And then I have it broken out like what I'm using. Who do I have it on? So that I can make choices nice and quick. So I see I've got one rage in my inventory right now. So eventually I want to put that on someone else. Well, I've got mighty rages on Magneto, Thor, and Loki. But I want to take Magneto's mighty off. Because looking over here, I've got Doctor Strange, Jean Grey, Odin, and Luna. Now, Jean Grey and Luna are worth brilliant rages in my opinion, but Odin is just not... He's not as usable as he was, especially with newer characters coming out. So I want to take his brilliant and give it to Magneto, because Magneto and Luna are kind of like the king and queen of ABX and ABL, especially with their newest uniforms. So I want to actually move that brilliant over when it's a half off unequip. Doctor Strange I'm always going to leave because he's my favorite character, but he's probably not a really good choice for a brilliant either. I think Thor and Loki are both great choices for mighty. I think Ghost Rider needs a mighty. And as you can see, Ghost Rider's not even on this list. So when I do unequip, I'm actually going to give... So I'm going to take the mighty and I'm going to give it to Odin, and I'm going to give Odin's brilliant to Magneto. And then I'm going to take this one from the inventory, and then Civ has fallen off a long time ago, so I'm actually going to pull Civ's, and I'm going to combine it with this one in my inventory and give it to Ghost Rider. Then I'm going to probably take off Gamora's and give Gamora, since she's not a tier 4, I've got her tier 3, I'm going to give Gamora's normal rage to Captain Marvel, since Captain Marvel seems like she's meta even at level 80 versus Wanda until Wanda gets a tier 4. So I am going to leave Scarlet Witch's rage on there. I'm going to pull Spider-Man's as well, because Spider-Man is more of a PvP character. So I've got some decisions to make, and this just kind of helps me look at what I have and helps me make some of those decisions. So those are some of the changes I'm planning to make with rage. But then I've got other ones. You know, I've got my judgments, I've got my regens, I've got my energies. Destructions are kind of fillers at this point. Authorities are for PvP stuff, and you got some greeds. I've got a lot of my inventory. I'm not really using most of those. Transcendence ones, and then my insights for the, and that refinement. These are refinements on the far right here, and that's kind of the end of the list. But these insights, for the most part, I think most of them are well placed. I do have one extra one, but I think most of these are good choices. Maybe Phil Coulson might not be, but I think most of the rest of these are worthy of insights for ABX and ABL, because you want to put insights on characters that work on teams. Polaris has got some niche days. Angela is, you know, universal, that can work on a lot of days as well. Taskmaster is a great choice. Mysterio is a fantastic choice. Again, a lot of these need their uniforms, but not all of them. White Fox is one of the best choices, in my opinion, when it comes to insight. Valkyrie is a solid choice. Morgan Le Fay. Ghost Panther is a great choice. Phil Coulson is iffy, and Black Cat is more niche as of late. Other people I might consider. Dazzler might have been a better choice than Polaris potentially over time. It depends on who gets their tier 3 or Transcended first to use on different game modes. But for the most part, I have a character that has insight on one of these supports for almost every day. So, you know, and you'll see here, I have insight listed next to it as well. So Mysterio has the insight. Both White Fox and Coulson do, but they don't stack. Over here, I have Ghost Panther with the insight. Valkyrie, actually, I think I have Valkyrie with the insight. I need to actually update that. All right, didn't I just say that I had Valkyrie? Yeah, Valkyrie has an insight. So I need to update that. So even Valkyrie has one too. Oops. Taskmaster also has one. So you look at me like slipping up here and not keeping my sheet up to date. So this is the wonky part. But and Morgan Le Fay has one too. She's also on my list. But my main point of bringing this up is you'll see that most of my days here, especially if I update my sheet appropriately, someone has an insight for the most part. Like even here, I think Craven, this is one day, the Speed Villain Day, doesn't have someone with a insight. Insight. Like I said, Morgan Le Fay has one. Angela has one. Valkyrie has one. Taskmaster has one. So Craven does not have one. This I'm using Black Cat with an insight, so there is an insight on Speed Villain here. Up here, I tried out a different team up with a Craven Mystique with Green Goblins, so Green Goblins leadership. So I tried a different team, but traditionally I have an insight on this team. But yeah, looking through that and seeing that most of the characters have an insight. Actually, every day has an insight besides for the Craven ones that have Black Cat for the leadership. So this Green Goblin with Craven Mystique is the one that's missing an insight. Even here, Valkyrie Dazzler. Valkyrie has the insight. I just don't have it updated. So looking at stuff like that and being able to overview and make your changes, I feel like doing something like this is super helpful. So you don't have to make your own Excel spreadsheet. I recommend it. It's one of the ways that you can get yourself up higher in rank. As you can see here, not that I have like the best score in the world, but I am sitting at 112 at the moment. Not everyone has played. This is not like the best score of all time, but 99 million for today is not a terrible score by any means, and I think I typically sit in the top 500 players for the most part, usually a fraction of a 1% for how well I do based upon everything on my account. So just thought I'd share a little bit of that information. That's how I go about doing it. That's how I work on my scores. That's how I constantly try to improve them, and just go from there. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hopefully that was helpful, and I'll catch you in the next one.